evening, everybody. Welcome back to our second BaseTalk. I'm not going to get started too soon. I'm going to wait until everybody's here before I let loose with too much information. But if you are here, thanks for coming along. Week number 2. Last week we did a bit of food, a bit of nutrition, and just generally trying to make things a little bit more simplified on the food and diet side of things. So if you want to go back and have a look at that, you can. Otherwise, tonight we've got some new stuff to talk about. A little change of time. Last week we did it in the middle of the day. Today we're going to do it in the evening to see if that is a bit more convenient for people. However, the sun is shining and therefore there may be some people outside having a barbecue or drinking a couple of beers, which would be fine. They can catch up later on. Good evening to the McGees. Welcome. Thanks for coming along. It's only just turned 15:15, so we will give it another minute or so before I begin. See if anybody else wants to come and join in. If at any point you have any questions or any comments, please feel free just to stick them in the comments box. If I don't answer them, they don't always appear on my screen, so feel free to send them multiple times until I have acknowledged. Hi Catherine, thanks for coming along. Good to have you here, and no problem doing it at a time where you can be live. It's quite alright. We try and adjust things to make it suit for as many people as possible, whether it's classes or talks or whatever it is that we're doing. It's good. But we'll just wait. We've got a couple people here, which is good. So we'll give it another minute or so before I get too stuck into what we're going to talk about. But at any point, if you want to put anything into the conversation, if you want to ask any questions or request any subjects for future base talks, then you most certainly can. Borag is here, but you might need to come and go. That's fine. If you're making dinner or whatever at the same time, then you can just have me whittering on away in the background. That is fine. I've got my laptop down in front of me, so if I do drop my gaze, it's just to have a look at my notes. It's not because I'm trying to avoid eye contact with myself. Corey's cooking dinner with the kids as well. Totally fine. Listen in when you can. If you think of anything to say, just chuck it into the comments section. So the purpose of the base talk to start with is really just a chance for me to talk about some perhaps commonly misunderstood subjects or subjects that people don't have the confidence to ask about. So I'll lead the way, and I will perhaps start with conversations that people don't want to talk about. If at any point you have any questions or you want to add into the conversation, you can. Tonight we're going to look at goals, motivation, discipline, and everything that's kind of combined in with that. They kind of all link together, because if you're not got a goal, then what are you going to be motivated for in terms of training? And everything I'm talking about here doesn't necessarily just apply to exercise or fitness or nutrition or diets or anything like that. This could really be applied to any realm of life, whether it's personal life, relationships, or work or whatever. I'm no way a relationship professional or whatever, but I'll do my best to keep it to fitness and health, but it is related to other subjects as well. The first thing I kind of want to touch upon is the current climate that we're in. We're all completely aware of where we are just now with the coronavirus and how it's pretty much brought everything to a stop. Some people have had to stop going to work. We've had to stop seeing friends and family as we usually do. And whilst that is obviously a terrible thing, a lot of people have been put into really difficult situations. A lot of people have sadly died from it. But for those who have largely remained unaffected, it has done something that we've never been able to do in our lives before, certainly not out of choice, and just we've had to stop. It's just basically stop, stay completely still, don't go anywhere, and don't do anything. I don't know about you, but in the past 30 years, well, maybe 35, you're pretty still when you're a child, but at no point in your life do you give your opportunity to self to stop and to sort of assess the situation. Now that we have been forced to do that, we can almost take advantage of that and look at what it is that we're doing. Whether that's in exercise, it's in life, it's in work, whatever it is, we can now use this time to our advantage to see if we're going in the right direction. Imagine you're driving down the motorway at 70 miles an hour, as quick as you can, and you're just not really paying attention to what's going on and where you're going. It's only when you pull in at a service station to refuel that you stop and you think, is this right? Am I going the right way? And if it is, fine, jump back in the motorway and go. If not, well, then you've got a chance to turn it around. So I know I've been doing a lot of thinking myself. I won't go into depth. I won't tell you what I've been thinking about and whatnot, but it's given me an opportunity to look at my situation with life, with work, what I'm doing, where I'm spending most of my time, and whether or not it's something that I want to do long term going forwards, whether it's want to spend more time doing it or less time doing it. And that kind of then leads on to the conversation about goals, because if you look at what you're doing, what your priorities are, and if you want to change them, great. If you don't, then that's fine. But when we come out of this lockdown, we're going to have to get back up to some kind of normality, some kind of speed. So that's basically us setting ourselves a goal. We might not say it, but the goal might be, in August, I'm going to start going back to work part-time, and I'm going to have to start building towards that. Or the gyms might open in a controlled manner, and I'm going to start working towards getting back into the gym, or whatever it is. So we're going to start creating ourselves goals, whether we know it or not, and we're going to start working towards them. If we know what goals we're working towards, excellent. Goals are great. They allow us to watch our progress, to see ourselves move forwards. But it's also not essential to have goals. It's totally fine just to work out just for the sake of working out, because you enjoy it, because it makes you happy. You don't always have to be striving for your PR on your 10K or your 1 rep max back squat or first place in the next whatever powerlifting competition. We don't always have to be working towards a goal. It is perfectly fine just to enjoy what it is that you're doing if it allows you to focus your attention elsewhere in life. Because as we all know, the spinning plates thing, if you're trying to spin too many plates at once, at least one of them is going to come crashing to the floor. So if you're working real hard to try and keep all your kids safe and happy at school and with their friends, you're working hard at work as well, maybe aiming for another promotion, and you're trying to train for a marathon and beat your PR, that's a lot of plates you're spinning. That is inevitably going to lead to some kind of crash. So adjust your goals to what makes sense for you. When you do have a goal, it's important to make it SMART. S-M-A-R-T. As an acronym for specific, meaning your goal needs to be specific. For runners, it might be, I want to increase my 10K or marathon time by X many minutes. If you're weightlifting, it might be, I want to increase my back squat by 5%. Similar kind of things. It must be measurable, so you must be able to say whether or not that 5% or those extra seconds or minutes that you're taking off your time, you need to have something you're able to measure that goal by. So a specific and measurable goal, but it's also got to be achievable. So SMARTS, S-M-A, achievable. If you say, I want to be able to run a marathon in 2 hours, well, that's not achievable. You're not really going to manage that conceivably, are you? One person has done it so far, and that was with a whole load of helpers and didn't actually count as a world record because it wasn't a race. So chances are we're not going to do that. Achievable goals are important. Which falls into the next one, which is realistic. They're kind of similar, but same deal. Make sure it's something that you can realistically fit into your lifestyle. If you say that you want to try and compete in a triathlon, excellent, great. Pick a triathlon you want to do, but trying to fit that training in that you're going to have to do in order to allow you to do a triathlon realistically with 3 kids, a husband, a full-time job, and friends to see, is that something you're going to manage? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe we need to start with just a sprint triathlon and then a normal triathlon, and then we build from there. The last one is timed. So we need to make sure that your goals have a time frame. When is the competition or the event that you're working for? Let's set in some short goals, some medium goals, and long-term goals, and we'll check off them as you go on. So if you're working for goals, they've got to be SMART. If there's anything I've missed that you've missed that I've said, you can always catch back up or stick it in the comments, and I will re-go over anything. Goals, important, but not essential. especially depending on where we are in life and what we're trying to do. But right now is a really good time to sort of reassess where we are, what the priorities are, and then we can create a goal that is smart so that when we come out of here we can work towards it. Corinne has said something I can't fully see. She said, when I could train in the gym, I was training with the progressive overload method. I'm enjoying the body weight training, and then that's all I can see at the moment. Yeah, so there's tons of different training methods. Progressive overload is kind of just how we progress. It is a more defined way of doing it, but it's just gradually adding on either intensity or volume to help you improve. Because if we consistently do the same thing repeatedly, we're not going to get significantly better at it. If every day you're doing 5 press-ups, that's great. You'll be able to do 5 press-ups for the rest of your life, but you're not necessarily going to be able to do many more of that. But if you start doing 5 press-ups every day for 1 week, then you up it to 10, then you up it to 15, and so on. That's progressive overload. We're overloading the muscles progressively over time to increase it. I might not have got the full comment there, Corinne. If I've missed anything, I'll go back and type it in because I can't see the rest of the comment there. So from goals, we then need to kind of think about motivation and discipline. They are kind of similar, but at the same time, they're not. And for me, in my head, motivation comes and goes. You know, some days you wake up out of bed and you're like, boom, let's go. I am going to crush this day. I feel like Thor from the Avengers films. Nothing can stop me now. Other days you wake up and you're like, whoo, this is going to be a tough one. I just need to get through to the end of the day. If I manage, then we're doing well. That's what motivation to me kind of feels like. It comes and goes, which is fine. And quite often you will get motivation for something, whether you see a 30-day phase or trial of an exercise or of a diet. Short-term things are generally quite easy or quite good to get your motivation up for. Because it's a short burst, it's easy to sort of see the end goal. We can keep that motivation going for that short period of time. But over time, the motivation kind of gets a bit of a kicking, starts to get weary, start to burn out. And that's when we need to sort of move into discipline. Discipline, in my head, is more sort of doing something not necessarily because you really want to, but because you know that the byproduct is what you're working towards down the line. It's part of your overall goal is to get to the end line, and you want to succeed. We need to do the workout anyway. We might not be feeling great. We might not be able to work as hard as we thought we would, but it takes that level of discipline to go into the gym or to go out and to do your run or whatever it is. It takes that certain level of discipline to do it anyway and to help us achieve. So in my head, discipline is much more about the long game and working towards that goal that you see much further down the line. It takes practice. Because discipline, unfortunately, doesn't happen like that. Discipline is part of a habit. And habits, depending on who we are and how intense we're working, can take anywhere from 6 months to a year to develop. A habit can take 6 months to a year to develop. So if you want to create a new habit of going out for a run every Wednesday at 6:15 p.m, it's going to take you 6 months to a year of doing that for that to become just automatic, unconscious, out the door at 6:15 going for your run. It's the same with anything, whether it's giving up smoking or going to the gym, trying out a new class, taking up French lessons or whatever it is. Creating a new habit takes a lot of time and a lot of hard work, which kind of brings us back to our goals. They're all kind of interconnected. If your goal is really not smart, if your goal is just loose, by sometime this year, I want to lose some weight. What does that mean? How much weight? By when? How are you going to do it? If you make a goal that is smart and you absolutely nail it and you find something that really means something to you, then it's going to be much easier to forget about the motivation, to find your discipline to create that habit. Because if you've got a strong picture in your head of what you're trying to achieve, then it's much easier to fight off any negatives, any temptations that come your way to allow you to reach that goal that you've set in your head. So they're all kind of interconnected. Your priorities, your goal, your life, your motivations, your disciplines, they're all part of one. We're all human. We all have good days and bad days, but if we create something in our heads that we want to work towards in the long run, whether it's health, whether it is losing some weight, where it is being able to speak French. I keep picking on the French thing because Susie and I have been trying to learn French since the start of the year. That's us basically 5 months in, so it should be a habit soon. We're getting better. We're certainly not fluent. Patience and practice. And as we said last week, practice does not make perfect. Practice will make us better because there is no perfect. There is just us getting better, getting fitter, getting faster, getting better at French, getting better at cooking, whatever it is. It's just creating that repetition, that practice to create that habit. And quite a lot of the time, I should have drawn a graph, we expect ourselves, as we get older, we expect life to be better, whether that is we have more money because we've been working for longer, whether it's just simply because we should be happier because we've got more life experience, we've got more money maybe, we've got more time maybe. A lot of us expect life to be better as we get older. But life is not just a trending graph of going up with happiness and age along the bottom lines. It's like a roller coaster, you know? Just like getting out of bed one day, you might feel great, the next day you might feel rubbish. That life can change on a daily basis, a weekly basis. I mean, 6 months ago, none of us knew we would be here. We all felt great, life was kind of normal. And now look we are. So in that respect, we were way up high and now we're like, boom, crash, land at the bottom. It's how we pick ourselves back up out of this, by reassessing our priorities, by looking at our goals and creating new goals that will allow us to carry on and pick back up out of that trough to allow us to get better, to get fitter, to get stronger, or to work towards whatever goals it is we have. It is human to have bad times, bad days, bad weeks, bad months. It would be robotic if we didn't. It's just important to accept that, ride out the storm, and when you're feeling good, reassess what it is that life means to you, what priorities are, and go in that direction and take some friendly people with you. If you're having a tough time, surround yourself with people who build you up, who make you stronger, whether that's close friends, whether it's family members, whether it's friends at the gym, friends at classes, personal trainers, nutritionists, doctors, therapists, whatever it is. Surround yourself with people who make you better, and the journey is an awful lot easier. So just gonna leave it there to allow you to not have too much thrown at your face at one time. It's all kind of interconnected. Goals, life, priorities, motivation, discipline, they all hook into each other. But I'd suggest that we all take a little bit of time in the next few weeks before life starts to ramp back up to have a look at what it is we're doing. Whether it's in the gym, or in training, or our running, or whatever. Life, work, maybe, God forbid, relationships. And see if it's what it is that we should be doing. If it is, great. Create a game plan of how we're going to get back into it, how we're going to take it forwards, how we're going to start going again, and where it's going to carry us forwards. Create some goals, make them smart, and be prepared for the long haul, the discipline that it takes to achieve that goal. If you're not in the right place, or if you want to focus on something different, then that's fine. We need to look at what that is, what goals we can create to help us get there, and surround yourself with better people to take us there. Another long comment that I can't properly read because I'm on a really small screen. I'm going to see if I can... Hold on one second. I'm going to open up my tablet and see if I can see these comments on the full screen, because I want to read them. I'll be right back. Not going anywhere. If in the meantime anybody else has got any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I will quickly try and find myself. Bum, ba-da-bum, bum. Whoop. Right, so Corinne, your long message says, how can I keep progressing with building strength when I can't increase my weights now? That's a very good question. So if we're working towards strength training at the moment, but we don't have the weights or the equipment to allow us to increase our strength. The options we have available to us there are to increase the volume of training that we're doing, or increasing the type of training that it is we're doing. We can't increase the intensity because intensity is based on the number of weights, okay? So if the weights still challenge you, look at changing either the number of sets that you're doing, the number of reps that you're doing, or the number of times a week that you're training, or the style that you're training, and you can change the tempo. So for example, let's say we're working on a squat. If you were in a gym and you wanted to improve your heavy squat, you would chuck a barbell on your shoulders and you would do a certain number of reps and certain number of sets to work towards that goal, whether it was pure strength or hypertrophy or endurance, whatever it was. But if we run out of weights, then we're kind of limited. So change how many reps you're doing, what speed you're moving at, how many sets you're doing, or how many times per week. We can look at isolation moves. We can look at unilateral training if we're doing a squat, obviously you're using both legs to stand up. If you do a single leg movement, we can work the same muscle, but you've obviously then taken 50% of the support away, so you've got all of that weight through one leg. If there's anything specific you want to talk about, Corinne, feel free to send me a message or give me a call. Happy to talk about it if I didn't answer enough there. Catherine said she was really struggling at the beginning of this as she's not that good at working from home, but she's made a plan. I write my workouts on the board in the kitchen and I do them whether I like it or not. And now I'm quite happy that I have a new routine. I absolutely agree with you. Where did that go? I absolutely agree with you. People talk about motivation all the time, but determination and discipline are far more important. Excellent. Very well done, Catherine. Great that you took time to make yourself a plan and then you stick to it. If we've got a plan written down, it is far easier to stick to. If in our heads we just say, right, I'm going to work out 3 times this week, and you say that to yourself on Monday, by the time you get to Wednesday, you're going to be like, how many times did I say I was going to do that? How many times have I done it? Write it down, make a plan, and it makes it a lot easier to stick to. It doesn't make it easy. You still got to put the effort in, but it makes it easier to make yourself a bit more accountable. It's the same with food. Earlier in the lockdown, I put a food diary up on the page. If you put a food diary up, you write it down, you can see what you're eating, you can see when you're eating and what effect it's having on you. Much easier to be accountable for yourself when you can see it all written down on the page. It can be a little bit scary, but in the long term, it helps to make things a little bit easier. Corinne said she noticed a difference last night when she was doing the pause squats with Susie as it was increasing your time under tension. Yep, so Corinne, that's a perfect example of just changing the type of training you're doing. So instead of just doing single squats or single press-ups, do pause squats or do them slower, do a slow down and a quick up. Something just to change the demand on the muscle. It can be the exact same movement, but you do it at a different speed or you add in a pause. That will make it quite a bit tougher. Instead of just thinking I constantly need to add more reps or more weights and doing the movement at the same tempo, if you change the tempo, you change the speed at which we're moving, you can make it a little bit harder as well. Cool. Well, hopefully that's everything I've covered. If anybody has any questions, whether it's about this or anything you'd like to talk about in the future, feel free to put it up just now. Or you can email me privately and we can carry on this discussion separately. Otherwise, I hope there was something you could benefit from there. Feel free to stop and think. Maybe not right this minute when you're cooking your kids' dinner. Maybe it's a bit of alone time tomorrow or over the weekend. Find yourself a bit of space. Have a think about what's going on and whether or not it's time to reevaluate when we start picking back up with life after lockdown. We're at in a strange kind of way, a fortunate position that we have been afforded that time where we can reassess and we can start the next phase differently. So I hope that was helpful. Maybe got the juices flowing. Any questions, send me over. Any requests for subjects for next week? I think this time worked quite well, so we'll stick with 6:15 next Wednesday, unless something else should come up between now and then. Otherwise, go and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening. Thank you very much for coming and keeping me company, and being engaged in the conversation. It makes it a little bit more enjoyable for me when I know there's people there who are listening. So thank you very much. Have yourselves a wonderful Wednesday evening. We got some classes tomorrow. I don't remember when or where, but they're on the timetable, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks again, team.